when this next move people to the next dimension happens or whatever, you're only gonna be able to make that leap if you have that connection, and then that requires like an emotional body, for instance. And so you got races like the gray aliens who develop very far intellectually, so their technology is top notch, so on and so forth, but then they don't have an emotional body, so they know that when everything pretty much goes down, they won't be able to survive, they'll die out. So what they started doing, they started coming to Earth a long time ago, and then started, trading technology stuff, getting in good with the military because they wanted to mix with us. So they started experimenting. That's when we started having cow mutilation, the abductions, different things like this. And initially, the government thought that they were friendly or whatever, and so they started, a cultural exchange with them, whatever else. But then they figured out what they were really up to. So they basically tried to wipe out as many of the ones that were living here on Earth. And so a lot of...
Oh, I remember when all that cattle was like dying.
Yeah.
And associated with extraterrestrial type.
Didn't have a single red blood cell left in their body, and there's no technology on Earth that can do that.
Do you know children were being born at that time?
Yeah.
And one of my aunts, her baby was born and it spoke.
Mm-hmm.
And when they took the baby to the hospital and they went to draw blood, there was no blood in the baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was one of my concerns. I can't tell.
Are you familiar with the Roswell events in Texas?
It was New Mexico.
I thought it was there in Texas.
That's where Area 51 is.
Yeah.
Like I was, when I was maybe around 4th grade or so, like I was real, like I studied, like I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, I was obsessed. I had the books. Did you take the book? Somebody took my book.
I think I was at a book fair. So I feel like somebody gave me a book on it.
No, I had a book called The Roswell Experiment.
Yeah, I had one too when I stayed in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, okay, so, and then we got so much mixed blood that we could have something from either side of the, because you've got the descendants of the Syrian race who came in from Sirius A, and then many of them became the Dolphins, they say. But they and they're the ones that wanted to kind of protect us from whatever else. But then you had races like the Greys that were trying to mix with us so that they can basically get their loophole and be able to make it into the next, stage of consciousness, whatever else. But I could, so between your story with what happened with the potential abduction and just based on what I knew about Steve and Masonry and different things like that, it was almost like we got both sides of the equation. And so, cause I was looking at Calvin, I just like look at my children, because there's certain things, and then they mom bloodlines from the Bahamas. They say if there was an Atlantis, well, all right, so the original Atlantis wasn't over there, but when they were getting ready, when they had to leave or whatever, that's the area they came. So the area with like the Bermuda Triangle and all that stuff.
Oh yes.
And Bimini Road. So if you did have Atlanteans in that area, they would have been mixing with the Bahamians, the native Bahamians in that area. So like I was testing Cali, like I was because I had a suspicion. I was like, I had a feeling that I had a feeling that sometimes I'm top secret stuff. But I had a feeling with autism that, I think we may have talked a little bit, like I felt like they were just interpreting things at a different different frequency, and so I got curious
Mm-hmm.
about the relationship between that and the way that dolphins echolocate. Cause you know the way they're so advanced in their ability to interpret sound that they see it as pictures and things like that. And so what I found was the protein is necessary for echolocation, presence, or whatever. There's an abnormality in that same protein in most children that have autism, and you know, like for years, one of the effective therapies that they've had for children with autism is dolphin therapy. So they would spend time with dolphins and something about it. And so, but then, like I said, the dolphins are said to be connected to the people of Sirius. And then so when you look at the old Egyptian tablets, when you look at the let me see, the Assyrians and the Sumerians, as well as the Dogons of Africa, they all have.
Dogons they were an African tribe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they were like extremely advanced in their understanding of astronomy. And so all of those different cultures, even though they were in different areas, they all had information about the star Sirius.
Now, when I've heard of Dogon, I always thought it was reptilian. It's not reptilian. You know how they speak about the reptilians and all that?
Talk about them, but then the Dogons,
That's right.
yeah, they.
It's in that book that York had.
Mm-hmm.
It mentions them. Dr.
Wait a
York.
minute, what was it?
I got a book in there about them. The Luciferian.
Didn't he go by the first name Melchizedek?
Yes.
The dude from that video is Drumvelo Melchizedek.
I'll bring it to you. Hold up a minute. Mm-hmm. What a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, they speak about the Dogons. Just look it up. You got pictures of them and everything.
Let's see. This is no girl.
They got pictures. Why's this thing keep turning on me, my hand?
That ain't no girl. This one.
It's got pictures of.
Oh, this different from a dog. Yeah, that's a different set of. What is it from? So this is a different kind of. I lived and see from the Mizar coast, which is also referred to as the state of Vortexes. Plan was destroyed, some took residence on the planet, and others took recovery to the city. That's a different species. Vortexes is the same idea.
But then they start talking about the reptilians and all that stuff.
See, this is like the grays here.
It speaks about the Dogons in there.
No, they're called Dogurs. These right here. That's something different. I'm looking and see. Let's see. See how they're singing. Let's see if we get it. Let's see if we got some. There he is. Oh. And then he was taught by.
so it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm. What, do you remember anything about Thoth?
About who? Thor?
Thoth, Thoth.
Yeah, it's in there.
But like, what do you remember?
Not much. It seems like there's a period of time that I've blanked out, but I need to just refresh myself on it. I just specifically remember them speaking about reptilian. Is that a baby or a cat outside?
To the creek, yeah. This is fine. What about it? Into African the cell, the body is an evil. What about it?
I hear a child crying.
It's a kid.
It's a cat.
It was high pitched there in the room.
Is it a cat or a baby?
I can't tell.
That's strange.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there we go. Grandfather of Murdoch, also known as Melchizedek, and to the Egyptians, the
Read that
incarnation
out
of
loud.
Thoth. So, where does this paragraph start? Negro became if Negro is real according to the Bible, then his father Enki is also real. Enki's father is also real. His name is Anu, the Most High, the grandfather of Murdoch, also known as Melchizedek, and to the Egyptians, the incarnation of Thoth. So the dude drum below Melchizedek, he was taught by Thoth, so Thoth appeared to him over the course of several years. So you know, I told you how in my what got me back into painting, I got into like automatic drawing, painting and stuff. And so like, I like to pay attention to the different figures and things that show up in my drawings over time. And so once I learned about Thoth and the different forms they say he took, I looked back through my works and then so I was like, oh, okay, I do have an 8 right here. I got these dogs that keep. I was told to me like when I was training with and different things like that. And he would talk. The one that told me about Hermes Trismegistus, the magi who could bilocate. He could be in 2 places at one time,
Right.
and stuff. So it turns out that was one of the other forms that Thoth took. Like he was known to this set of people as Hermes. He was known to this set of people as da 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 da. And so this same figures popped up like several places I've lived, different people I've talked to, and then different stuff. So it was like I was being
That's
guided
strange you would mention how he popped up in various places.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this was the same notions that this Jesus, well, they call him Jesus with the J, where everybody saw him in different places. And it also ties back to what I was asking you about. Are some people cloned in the military, or do they have this technology where they can appear in more than one place?
They do it with artificial. They do it with technological means. So if it has to do with the military in particular, it's a chance that it's a version of the net. Because like in Thoth's case or ascended beings like that, they just do it with understanding how their energy feels.
It's spiritual
it's spiritual in nature. But then if it's military related, they're doing basically a technological reproduction of that. And so like technology, I'm not gonna say it's our enemy per se, but each time that we create something technological, we basically forget how to do something that we were naturally able to do. So like they say like they were able to create like spirit vehicles, because like if you You gotta manipulate your electromagnetic field enough you can repel against other electromagnetic fields. And
That's
you can
why I
raise your
think they're
vibration.
so
Yeah.
advanced that they do know how to deal in the spiritual. They're not ignorant of the
No, they
spiritual.
know, but they don't have the connection to be able to do it naturally. So they have to use technological means, and so they basically part of the quote unquote Lucifer rebellion is that if you get everybody to use technology, they also forget. So our society's become so dependent on it that even if this knowledge got out and people started awakening or whatever else, if it happened too quickly, too many people did it at once or whatever, all of society would collapse and we die.
So you're
So
telling me that when Hannibal was able to do astrological travel and know his enemy's land, that now in the military they're using that same ability except somehow turned it into a
yeah. Yeah, so
technology
they
type
use
thing.
so they're using a technological version of it, whereas he could do it without any need for external apparatus. Or he may have been getting assistance. I doubt it. But if he was doing it without advanced technology, then he had that knowledge from that was given to certain cultures and stuff. But if it's military, like because of how infiltrated the world's governments are nowadays, if military is involved in any way, it's definitely the other side of things, the technological version of that, but then they can't, it's some of the other like higher spiritual things they can't do, and then they can't.
But how do you know they can't do it if it's just like
Because it's worthless to use technology if you most of the people that have gotten to the level that are ascending masters, like they're usually like isolated type people, like
you're very
yeah,
isolated
yeah,
because of empathic
yeah, like
type
they
things.
don't watch a lot of, like they stay to themselves and don't need a lot of technology and things
Right.
or whatever else.
It's like I can sit here in these four walls and know everything that's going on around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't watch a lot of TV at all, if not ever. I'll turn it on sometimes, but I don't usually watch TV. And I have to isolate myself, or either I become overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I see, cause those times like you remember when I went and I just when I went out to California, I was just like sleeping on the beach and stuff.
Yeah,
Like whenever I get into my like my high like spiritual states, like when I'm getting my
in a
like
higher
download,
frequency.
yeah, and stuff, like I don't feel like I need anything, and then like I
Hmm.
can like I just get what I need, like I don't try to get it, like it just
Right.
happens. But then like I get around people that are dependent on those things, and then and it
It
kind of
throws your
it
frequency
throws it
off.
off, right? And so that shows that we have a connection to that side of things. But then it's like we've been dropped into a world that's addicted to the technological side, which we would call
They've been
yeah,
programmed.
yeah.
That's what they say, television program. Their minds are programmed. That's why I have to be very careful about what goes into my mind, because I don't want to affect the natural workings of my consciousness.
So you got anything besides this from him?
Oh, I got lots of stuff. This in envelopes. There's a man way out in Edenton that he had shelves and shelves of things like that.
I know a few people. Yeah.
I thought I took you out to that man's place. Or
Possibly.
was it Mimi? It
I've been out
was
there eating too
so.
a few times.
You too. And the twins.
So what okay, so this is great to know about sister.
I can take you out there.
Well, my question first would be, okay, so what was, because you can know a bunch of things about something, but what was the ultimate And what was the point of knowing it all? Like according to him or that movement, what was their?
That was tied into being what they call woke or the higher consciousness. Um, the group that used to be way out. I'm not gonna mention the name, but that was all part of it. They had knowledge of the spiritual.
But to what ends? That's what I'm saying. Because it's great to know shit, but like to what, like why? Because there's a lot of people, especially in the quote unquote woke community, that their whole purpose of knowing more so they could be better than somebody else. Be like,
No,
I
it
know.
wasn't.
But for-
No, that's not the way
I'm
it's
not-
supposed.
I'm not-
That's not true consciousness.
No,
True
that's what I'm saying.
consciousness.
That's what I'm saying. You have a lot of folks that are like that, but what I'm asking you is with that particular group.
That's separation.
Yeah, so with them, with that particular group in Edenton, what did they say was their end for?
For the all, for the survival of the all, not just a certain group. That when people get to a certain consciousness, that we can't rush other people to drop the scales from their eyes, but in the end, it's supposed to be survival of the all, to return to consciousness and to deprogram us from how we've been programmed.
So survival in what sense?
Survival of the soul, the spirit, the I am, and to return to source. Like it was in the very, very beginning, or during African spirituality, when there was just African spirituality before religion was introduced.
What did they say? Say Lucifer's role was and all that.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I came in I'm not gonna say him live, but they had just. But remember, when I was first getting there, the person that was supposed to give me my sovereign cards and our names had changed. He left and went to Africa. So I didn't get my full teaching.
This is something they're missing. So you just in general, not even based on what they said, because you got a expanded sense of things, like either from what you've learned or just what you.
No, I didn't.
Hold on. Listen to me. So in addition to that, you also have what you just intuit. Like I know you there's certain things that you intuit. Okay, so based on the combination of all that, in your words, what do you say is Lucifer's role in all of this? From your
I can just tell you that the Creator has created everything. I do not worship. Get this first of all, I don't worship no Lucifer. I don't believe he's all powerful. I'm just making this for my audience. Okay. But there is a role, a place for everything in the universe. And the Most High, the Source, created not only the positive energies, but the negative energies. Even in their book, the Bible, it mentions that it says God created both good and evil. So there is a place for everything in the universe, not only everything under the sun, but everything in the universe.
Right, so everything has a purpose. So from your intuition, what is that purpose for that?
The purpose is like I said, the survival, not one, but for the all. There is no good and bad. I don't believe that there is a good or there is a bad. I believe that there is a positive and there is a negative. And that we came to get an earthly experience because each time our souls are born into the earth, into human form, each of us has a different experience. And I also believe that we get to choose which path that we will take once getting to earth. And then our souls take that knowledge back to one of the dimensions. You understand what I'm saying? There's higher intelligence that exists. We're not the only things in the universe. There are different dimensions, and there are other. It used to mention extraterrestrial and beings in parts of the holy books, but those things have been removed. I remember being a little girl looking into my grandmother's her Bible, and it would speak of extraterrestrial beings, but now that's been retranslated and removed from some of the holy books.
Yeah, 'cause most of them, and a lot of the modern they just don't have the whole story. And then they won't talk with each other, to get certain pieces of it. But okay, so
And actually, the Bible, it speaks a lot of the human function. It's not so much like Christ means light. And then I came across something whereas if you really get into the Bible and you know human anatomy about the rising of the Christ, the light that comes up through the chakra, the third eye, it's actually talking about the human body. The human body.
we didn't have a conversation on that, did we?
I don't think you and I had that conversation.
I was just telling Courtney about this about a week or so ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about the Christmas and how it had seats
Yeah.
in the classroom. That's where Santa Claus and all that. Like it's supposed to be the same
Right.
concept of it coming down the chimney and then going back up.
So if you know anatomy, if you know biology, if you know metaphysics type things in physics, and you start to read that Bible and you start to relate, like, hey, this is talking about the human body.
Yeah, that's all.
When they say the body of Christ, they're actually talking about us, the human body.
Body of light. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, good stuff. All right, so the part that's missing, and then typically the missing piece that the majority of people misunderstand is okay. So all right, so to summarize, all right, so of course Lucifer was an angel, and then not just any angel. Like if Christ was on this side, on the opposite side, you had Lucifer. Like that's the duality. Like it was a duality that was formed between these two forces. So that basically represent your light and your dark. And so what happens with Lucifer, and then I think this is the part that most people, especially Christians, get kind of hazy because they don't have the whole story of the rebellion in the Bible. That's in the Quran, and so he was given the same ability as us in terms of like, okay, so we're able to, like, we have certain figures that are placed amongst like examples that we can look up to. You know what I'm saying? Like you have like a Jesus in human form, like people that we can aspire toward. And then the whole idea is, even with child and parent, the idea is you're supposed to raise up your children so that they can surpass you, such that they lift all of humanity as a whole. And so, so whereas we had examples like that, we had plenty of examples. Lucifer has no example. The only thing, if he's the most exalted angel, the only thing higher than him is God at that point. So if he's given that same trait to say, okay, well, I've got to figure out how to be something higher than that in order to raise the overall thing up. So he figures out Okay, so the only way I'm gonna be able to do that because as long as you're connected to the God's love in that way, the most that you can hope to, you know, get to is become reintegrated with the all. So there's nothing to go hide in. And so he figures out, so the only way I could is if I disconnect. I have to disconnect from that, and then I can try to figure out a way to get, you know. All right, so basically, so that was basically the plan. He ends up getting a whole bunch of other people to go along with this idea, and so as a result, a reality, a secondary reality is created that's got most of the same rules as, the other one, except instead of it being based on the unity, it's based on the separation. So we started having this type of reality where it looks like me and you are separate from each other when the truth is we're all part of the same whole and stuff. And so within that, they continue to try to find, other means in order to be able to accomplish this thing. But then the fact of the matter is, you can't raise to the higher levels without that love connection. And so you had like all these people that I'm talking about, they advanced so far intellectually and all these other ways, but no matter what they try to put in place, it still wasn't any way without reconnecting to that love. And so the idea was, like, and in part, what the overall plan was, not Lucifer plan, the overall plan, part of it is we polarized each other so bad that this one was like, okay, well, I'm either gonna have to trick them or I'm gonna have to overtake them. On this side, we're supposed to be the good guys, but we're taught to hate this other side. And so the irony is the only way that either of us can ascend is through unconditional love.
Right,
But
because
yeah,
love
right,
is the highest frequency,
right, right.
and everything must return to
To love.
love.
But the problem is, what is the what is the hardest thing, especially for a Christian, to accept and love?
I can't speak because, like I said, I've disconnected myself from the thing of religion, because religion causes you to think
But,
in a certain way or to be programmed
but,
in a certain way.
but it's the same for anybody because they have their version of this. But I'm just using the Christians as an example. But just based on what you know, just from having experienced Christians, who or what is the hardest for them to love? Just
Themselves
even
and
beyond
each
that,
other.
even beyond that. No, even beyond that. Like the obvious, the devil. You will never hear a Christian say that they love the devil. You know why? Because they've been taught. Okay, in the same book, you're told love thy enemy, but because they've been taught this concept of exception, so as opposed to Christ being the example, they got in their head, no, he's the exception. He can do things that I'll never be able to do, even though he said himself, this is what you'll perform miracles even greater
There's
than I.
another
So,
conflict where else
yeah,
they teach you not to hate. You're not supposed to hate. You're
yeah.
not supposed to hate, but yet you hating what?
Yeah, so you hate evil. So the irony is you defeat evil
Their
through,
perception of
yeah,
evil
you because evil is strengthened by you hating it. So it's like but through unconditional love it's weakened. Like it
is
has
weakened.
it can't stand up to unconditional love. Like
That
it
reminds
crumbles.
me of that little story where there was this little girl who used to pray for Lucifer every night. She
Yeah.
said, and her mama heard her praying, said, "Honey, why are you praying for Lucifer?" She said, "Because no one else ever thought to pray for him to change."
That's it. So he like an addict out here, like an addict out here, and then you talking about, oh, he keep on stealing my TV. Put this man in rehab or something like that. Do something. But that's the idea, and so that that tug they have, because like like forces push, and that's what causes vibration. They push against each other. So it's like, so the dance, like the reason that you have the existence of both good and evil is that the idea is that they create momentum, that push and pull creates a momentum that helps us to vibrate higher. and then so that's why you have to have it. But then if you know that that thing is necessary for you, like the challenges that that thing throws at you is necessary for you to be able to grow to the point you can vibrate higher, why would you pull yourself down through the levels by expressing hatred?
Hatred.
Because it doesn't matter what or who you hate. Like we live in a society that justifies you hating and spitting on whoever the quote unquote bad guy is at that time. Like if they sick their dogs and they say, all right, everybody hate Muslims because of 9/11, and everybody like joins it. And then if you disagree with that in any way, like I thought we were supposed to love everybody. I ain't saying invite that fool into your house. I'm saying you don't have to be an expression of hate, as opposed to me focusing on trying to kill this person. Why wouldn't I increase the amount of love that I'm giving to the people I care
Right.
about?
And
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
know there is a tradition in one of the African tribes where as instead of them punishing them or killing them for committing a crime, they actually get the person who's committed the crime, surround him and tell him of all the good things that he's done in life and the good things that he can contribute to society. Instead of, we hate you for doing that, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna take you out. They tell him all the good things he's done and all the good things he can do.
And see, that hatred is like it's become a cult, like a hate culture, where if you don't agree with the status quo and spit on whatever the enemy is of their time or whatever, then they shun you. But the only way to be able to defeat that and be able to raise to the vibration we need in order to be able to escape that cycle is that you have to. If it hurts, it's not really love. That's the problem.
Right.
They keep on thinking.
Love doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that
Yeah.
because love doesn't hurt.
If it's
If
hurting,
it's
not really love.
love, it's gonna make you feel wonderful. It's gonna make you feel good. If something is causing you to hurt, honey, it is not love.
That's confusing because love is the highest elevation of understanding. And
Right.
if you're confused by it, it's not really love. So it's not that there's something wrong with loving your enemy. It's something wrong with what your definition of love
Love
is.
is.
Or
Yes.
else it would defeat. Like you like that night when I was sleeping on the beach. All right, so there's this one meditation I was taught, like basically where you basically create a star of light, kind of. And so if you wrap this around, yourself, others, whatever, you're protected. Like he would tell stories about like it was like the California wildfires, and there was this one practitioner. She like real quick. They say, "Oh, we gotta get out quick, or whatever the fire's coming this way." She wraps the house. She goes out there, has like some chickens. They wrapped like the chicken thing, and then it was like one thing she forgot to wrap, like something they owned, like a shed that was let me see, how was it? Like however it was positioned.
Excuse me.
They said the fire, it came in, it went around the house, it burned the thing she forgot to wrap, went around the other thing that she did wrap, and then kept on going, and then got the other houses in the neighborhood or whatever else. And so when so me remembering this, when I was out there on that beach, so I was walking at this point, like Ernie came back, and I was all I had was my book bag. I went by Olivia house. I got the rest of my stuff. So I had this big old bag that was on my bag. I stopped by a grocery store and I had like a bag of food and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I was exhausted because we had basically been up for like almost 48 hours, and I was on that beach and I just didn't care no more. I couldn't walk anymore. I said, I'm gonna just sit down on this bench and I'm gonna take a nap for a second. I seen some security out here. I guess I'll be all right. So I think to myself, I say, okay, well let me try this star thing. So I wrap it around myself. For whatever reason, I wrap it around my food bag and I sit it in front of me. Don't wrap it around my other bag. When I wake up, I'm talking about I was in such a deep sleep. I don't remember going to sleep. I wake up. I didn't know I was asleep till I woke up.
It's just like people don't know they did.
Yeah.
He did.
I was fine. I woke up like I got bendy. I was perfectly fine. My food was fine. My bag was gone. And they took my bag. But then I said, because I was in that state, like I could have been mad and stuff, whatever else. But then it occurred to me, I wasn't carrying 30 pounds on my back anymore. I had the
Mm-hmm.
strength to walk however many miles I needed to get somewhere safe, and then and then the rest happened after that. And flown back out this way, but that taught me something. That was something I needed to experience because it taught me something about holding on, especially holding on to the past. Because like most of the stuff that was in that bed was like old drawings and stories and stuff I never finished, old songs I hadn't finished. Or there's a bunch of incomplete stuff, and then it was like let go of it, let guidance stay in that space of trust the process. You're going to get the guidance that you need. Like I have been stressing a little bit, like a tiny bit about I wasn't going to finish this series of paintings I'm working on. It's 12 of them, and I'm in the middle of the 10th right now. And I wanted to be able to go to New York this week for my birthday because Basquiat's birthday is 2 days before mine, and then he has an exhibit up there that is his stepmom put together that's ending on January 1st. So I wanted to get up there before that, and I was like, okay, well I could drop off the paintings and stuff with Mook and do all that in one fell swoop. And then it started getting closer. Like things, it looked like they started falling apart. Like the vouchers for like a free trip and all this. Turns out there's like this wait period of like 5 to 10 days for this. They just all these different details.
You ever think that maybe there was a reason?
I don't know what the reason was. And so it was like it was kind of doing that sort of thing. But then once again, I kept telling the process, trust the process, pain. I'm not worried about when these finish because I'm embedding a lot of knowledge in these. So I was like, it's more important that they get done and they get done by a certain time. If you ain't gonna do it right, don't rush through it so that you can try to like do it the way you've been doing. And I said okay. I said cool. And so one of the things that's been happening lately, I've connected with Basquiat's sister Lisanne through the healing community because she has a podcast called Shaping Freedom. It's like I guess connected through that, and so it turned that morning. Just I said, okay, well, I'm gonna channel Jean-Michel Basquiat because he passed back in '88.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna channel him. Just have a conversation with him and what's going on. And so basically, what he told me was that person was a place like he was like hanging out, like he was there with like Da Vinci, different folks like that. And it's like it's a certain kind of space that they're able to go there. And that's what they do. They just exchange ideas and just different things like this. And so he was happy. And so I asked, I was like, well, what should I do? And he was like, Lasan, him. So she's the middle sister. She's the same age difference. Me and Tierra are from each other, but she instead of the Virgo being the youngest daughter, so he basically was telling me he's like treat my Virgo sister the way you treat your Virgo sister. And so with Marine, I've always had like this like an unconditional type of like sometimes she does things that I don't think are the greatest and whatever. But with her in particular, it was always like that's my baby sister. Show her understanding that she may not be getting elsewhere. And so he said like the same way when I can't be there physically or whatever. The same way you love your Virgo sister, love my sister that way. And I said cool. Didn't think nothing else about it. And then that's kind of like how the relationship been. Like I would just like share her stuff and different things like that, and then she just expressed like how much that meant to her because like she didn't have like a large following for that because everybody's looking at that's Basquiat's sister. They're trying to come out with art stuff. But like,
Yeah.
as far as like that healing side, that thing that really means to her, she doesn't have the big following. So she expressed how much she appreciated it. And that same morning, I find out so I had seen her post about a retreat that she's doing in California because she lives in California. Like she's kind of bi-coastal. Like she'll go back and forth from New York to California. So the current exhibit is in New York. She stay out in California. She's doing the retreat out there January, there's one in May, and there's one in June. And so I kind of, in my head, I was thinking, I was like, it would be kind of cool to go to one of those. Didn't think much about it or whatever. Then, not long after, they announced that the exhibit is moving out to California. So it's gonna run out there for 8 months. And so I was like, so wait a minute. So now, so I had to wait to take this vacation package or whatever. Now that exhibit and that retreat are all gonna be at the same place. So all that stuff lines up, right? And so that came from trusting the process. Because if I would try to force it and do, that hustle mentality they usually try to have us have, I would have tried to figure out how to get to New York. I'd have been too worn out to enjoy it.
Everything. Let me explain. Everything comes to you when you're not chasing and trying to force it. If you just learn to flow with the universe, you will notice that you attract. You have no need to chase anything because your purpose will line up as it should be. And just with humans in relationships, people don't need to chase because you are a natural attractor if you're on that frequency. But you have to first realize that we all have a purpose and that those things that you have to chase and you have to force is not meant to be.
There's a space that gets filled with intention. Like if you
Like
if you say, okay, if you focus, because we kind of celebrate intention in our society, but like one of the things that I realized too is that even if something goes exactly as I planned it out, there's a possibility that there was something that was even greater. Yeah, that I cut off as a possibility because I wanted things to happen exactly that way. And so when I focus more so on alignment than with intention, then what ends up happening is, one, I'm in the now. Like I'm not worried about what's happening tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I'm just doing that thing
Stay in the present.
That thing which I'm meant to do. And so like that for me, that was art. So like that was one of the things like I was doing before I knew that was the thing I was doing. I was drawing before I was conscious that I was drawing. I was like, whenever I would get done with a test, I was drawing on the back of my. So it's one of those things that I just had to do, and have even the idea of trying to do that for money started to kind of caused me to lose an attraction for it. So like commercial art, that whole idea of doing that for a paycheck, like drawing what somebody else told you to draw for a paycheck, it didn't feel right because I felt like I was doing something else with my work, just like how with my healing work, it didn't feel right charging people for that to me. Because I was like, if I have the ability to, somebody's sick and I have the ability to help them heal themselves.
You heal them, but you will naturally attract funds that you need.
They'll come, so I should never have to ask for it. And that's usually what the case was. Like I would just like do a bunch of things, and then so I would end up in need sometimes, and they'll just show up at door at that time. That's how it's supposed to happen. So likewise with my art, when I started creating particularly this series, I'm like, there's a certain wealth of knowledge and wisdom that I have that I can embed in these things. And so, the original opportunity was there's this big auction in Sotheby's that's having this like big auction. That's what they sold the Basquiat painting for like $110 million, so on and so forth. And so there's a lot of, I guess you could say, prestige of being able to say that you sold something at Sotheby's. But at the same time, all right, because matter of fact, this was in a conversation I was having with Mook about so they releasing that collectible Wu-Tang photo book with these never before seen photos. There's a good chance I got a picture in there with Capadonna, so that's gonna be legendary. So there's only 36 of these in existence. I think the price tag was like $36,000, and so there's gonna be one special one that's gonna be auctioned at Sotheby's. And so the idea was he's gonna hold on to one of these so that it can sit permanently at the Wu-Tang Museum that they're creating in Staten Island. And then he's considering taking it on kind of like a museum tour, so as opposed to donating to any one particular museum or another. It's going to be on display at a few different ones before it's at home at Wu-Tang's
Right.
museum. And so
It's just a 12-hour drive and then a 14-hour drive to Jersey, come back across the bridge. We've taken that drive
yeah, I mean, I've
before.
gone to New York several times. It was just
Yeah.
it was just I was in a rush mode. I ain't
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You wanted to just
Yeah,
hop there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going regardless when the actual auction happens. But then the point is, it occurred to me that if you sell, if these paintings get sold in an auction, they're gonna end up in most likely in some rich white dude's storage warehouse, and they keep a lot of this artwork in these warehouses they have on like airport property, because technically it's considered in transit as long as it's stored there on airport property, so they don't get taxed. It's just like it's being shipped or whatever. And so this stuff will never see the light of day, but yeah, but they get to store their money in that way where the IRS can't touch it by buying a painting in that way. So that's one of the tactics that they have. All right, so if my main concern was money, which if you really look at it, it's really the most sinister technology. Like it's the dominant technology on the planet. This idea of, instead of having a cosmic transactional relationship where I put out love and love comes back, you say, okay, well now this piece of paper I created has value. That's technology. And then so all other technologies that become dependent on that, you can't get this technology over here without the money. So
Right.
that's really the ruling technology. And so if you want to be able to use your internal abilities and be able to have that transactional relationship with the universe, you have to figure out, like, if you have the option to where if money is one of the domineering options in the situation, that's probably not the direction that you need to be looking at, especially when they think, because I could accept that, even if it's thousands of dollars. I've sold those things one time. They end up never seeing the light of day. However, if those paintings get placed in that Wu-Tang museum or whatever, where the public can come and see them, they can learn from those things. Those things are going to far outlast me. They're going to outlast my children. They're going to be there for 100 years or more, like a Da Vinci or something like this. And on top of that, because of their reputation, money's going to come our way anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, explain,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with getting money to support yourself and your family, but there's a greater purpose than just money itself.
Yeah, it'll
How
come.
many people, how many lives can you touch? How many lives can you change by creating one piece of art? Sometimes it's not all about money, but when you're diving into your purpose, when you're diving into your talent, the money's gonna automatically come. You don't have to chase it. What you go attract it. That's the
attract
part
it.
of manifestation.
And then you don't touch. See, that's the thing too. Like, all right, when, all right, so we got this hoarding mentality. I'm supposed to been going because I think I packed stuff, but there's this mentality of hoarding. Like I'm supposed to amass things and so on and so forth, but you forget that life is motion. So it's like, so if you attract something, you're not attracting it so it can stay still. You attract it so that it can be sent. You basically accelerate it so that you can point what direction it's going to go in. That's the reason that we have a magnetic charge between like the sun and Earth, because it's not for the Earth to be pulled into the sun, it's so that it can pull it fast enough to where the sun can slingshot it back out and then it comes back around, and it keeps on going, and that's how you keep life going. So likewise, you create these things that attract the money. See, you've got, most people have confused that the money is the power. The power
Right.
comes from the ability to direct the money. So it's
Exactly.
like, so if you're able to say, get the money to come in your direction, and then you're able to say where it goes after that, then that's where you've got your true power. So like, if I know I've got these things that have this embedded, like, sacred knowledge that'll help bring people together in this place, then yeah, I'm gonna get offers. People gonna be like, oh, I want you to pay me this, I want you to give me that, so on and so forth. And then I'm in a position where I could choose. Like if it doesn't align with my values, like I had a guy come in my inbox and he was trying to do something sounding shady, whatever else. I said, I don't care how much money it is. If it don't align with my values, I can't
Right.
do it. That's going to affect my future.
I'm glad you said that too about hoarding, because just imagine you could sit and stack money all day long, but that money's not doing anything by itself by stacking up until you take it and invest it into something. That's what people don't realize. It's just like a lot of people will hoard, just buying ridiculous stuff, just piling it up, and think how hard it is to move. Every time you get ready to move or to expand, you got to take all this heavy stuff with you to eventually you cannot move. So it doesn't make sense just to store up something unless you can continue to move freely.
And then you got to look at because of that, our value system's entirely screwed up with what we consider quote unquote valuable. Because
Yes.
you got to consider if this person is willing to give you this thing in exchange for the money that you covet and you value so much more. How much more is that money worth to them than the thing that they sold you? Like that thing doesn't mean anything to them, and you know just from business wise or whatever, that thing didn't cost them nearly as much as they charged you so that they can make a profit. So it's not worth nearly as much as you just paid for. But because we've got in our head, this thing is a value. No, it's a value to you. You've created in your head a value. What else can you assign value to? And then if you figure out, am I able to get this thing without it necessarily having to be bought with money? Like we got this thing where if we don't get something with money, we feel like
That you think that it's just cheap and no good.
yeah,
But
it's no good. You know, and then that's the real thing that's kind of overtaken humanity as a whole. This idea that something isn't worth anything if people didn't spend a bunch of money on it. And so they can literally sell you crap and poison and things, and then you'll think it's valuable simply
and
because you
that's
paid
why
enough
a
for
lot
it.
of people go broke, because they think if they spend more money, it must be better. But you can go get that same identical thing. But because of their value system, they think because they paid more money for it, that it must be better, even if it's the identical same thing that you were able to trade somebody something for other than money. But they think it's better because their value systems are screwed up. And then they're wondering why they're always low in money and you always have money. They don't know how to barter with the coins.
Yeah, because I find like when the less I worry about spending money or making it, I always have it. And so like whenever other people are like they broke or something, they need to borrow it, I got it because I didn't spend it on anything. Like I just been home painting, so it's like I have.
But I'm like this: if you borrow, I'm gonna charge you interest when you pay me.
I don't even see. I don't even care. Like
See, I do like your brother do. I put a little interest on it.
I don't even worry about that much because if I'm willing to to give it out anyway or whatever.
You say lend it, or are
Well,
you saying giving?
I don't like people. They offer to borrow. See, that's the thing.
They
like,
offer to borrow.
Yeah, like I don't care if I see it again from that person because I end up getting it back anyway. Like
It does come back.
it always comes. Like
It always
never
comes
fails.
back.
Like anytime I did, especially the more ridiculous it is, I'll be like, here you go. Here's all the money in my pocket. My wallet ended up getting full. Like beyond.
Isn't that weird?
That's how it's supposed to work.
It does. It's like
That's how it's supposed to work.
I remember one time, we would stop every corner. We would stop at right. So they had this thing where he wanted to give the man holding the sign some money. He'd just give it to him. I guess I don't know if he learned it from watching us. I don't know, but it would always come back threefold. I mean,
Yeah,
three folds.
because it becomes a reflex at that point, so you don't know what people are affected by these things, and then that's like most opportunities I've had along the way have been something like that. Like me and Ern, like when we were volunteering at the music conferences, like we would just be cool, but we didn't need to know you. Like if it made sense, like it was some dude that we lit in, like he had lost his ticket or something. He seemed genuine. It was something, and we just kind of like slipped him in or something like that.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything about it. Didn't even know this dude's name. The next year, we go to we were in Texas, and that's where he was from. By this point, this dude, he apparently that event that we let him into, that's what got him in the club promotion. He said he had such a good time that night that he got into it. He became like one of the #1 promoters. So he actually had an event during that award show period and whatever else. Like he was the guy over it, and he remembered us. Like we already remember the dude. He said, "Man, y'all changed my life.
That's
like, just
right.
off that little just or whatever. Y'all can have whatever y'all want to have." So we got in for free. We were in VIP. We got all this shit. And we couldn't have planned it. Like it was, but it was just because that's the mind
You
state.
never know who you might be helping.
There you go.
Don't even
so
think
just do
about it.
Just do it every chance you get. Just, like if it makes sense, if you have an opportunity, and it doesn't take a lot.
It's just kindness.
Yeah.
I was talking about sheer kindness
That's all it
on
takes.
one of my, I guess, one of my videos. And I was just talking about just being kind to people. And I was looking about how I used to house some of those people that are now in good positions. At one time, they were gang members and they had nowhere to sleep, no food. And I would lay mattresses on the floor over on Forest and let them sleep. You remember? And now some of those people have jobs, which they never had jobs before. They're in positions now, whereas if something should happen or I ever needed something, they can now, they're willing to help me. And that's why you have to be kind. You don't think about what you do, you just do it out of the kindness of your heart. And those things will come back 3 and 4 and 5 times.
And then I'm gonna say this, and then I gotta get on the road. But I was just telling a group of people yesterday that whenever you're walking in your purpose and you say you set your trajectory. All right, so you know how like if let's say you holding a water hose and you spin around. Let's say you spin around to your left, that water flies out to the right.
Yes.
So when you're spinning to the left, it goes to the right. So when you're moving a particular direction, you're creating.
Going the opposite.
Yeah, you're creating forces going around that way. If you change direction, like let's say like you was spinning your finger around in a glass of water or something, and you start making that little whirlpool.
Yeah.
If you spin your fingers the other way, it breaks up the whirlpool. So whenever you set your sights in a particular direction, even when it gets hard, you have to lean into the direction that you headed. Because if you turn the other way, if you second guess and you turn the other way, you break up the vortex. But if you lean into it, the vortex becomes so powerful that not only do you pull the thing that you were wanting, but you pull in all sorts of unexpected blessings and things like that, and it happens like that every single time.
The law of attraction.
And then I used the example of that morning when me and Tierra were racing in the car, and so I had never tried to drift before. I knew theoretically how you were supposed to drift because I had seen some movies, played some games, and so the idea is you're supposed to throw the car into reverse real quick and then throw it back in the drive, because what'll happen is it'll cause the wheels to lock up so that you can slide. But you at the same time you have to spin the steering wheel all the way and lock it. If you don't spin it all the way, you will flip the car. You have to turn because it turns the wheels at over a 45-degree angle, so it's able to lock and slide. And so we were coming up on that light, racing Big Mama, and then I'm coming up on this light. I'm like, damn, I don't have enough time to just like hit on brakes and go through this light. If I do, I'm probably just gonna slide in the track.
Yeah.
I have to drip. Like the only way we gonna live right now is I have to drip. So I said in my head how to do it, and I did it exactly.
Did y'all do that in my sports
Yeah,
clinic?
well we did.
So that's
It,
what it's it.
it,
Okay.
it wasn't jacked up after that one. But
Something was wrong with it.
but yeah. So I did, and I said in my head, I said, if you don't turn it all the way, y'all gonna die. And so I committed. I said, I didn't know what would happen. I just know that's what they said. And then sure enough, it skidded, and then you felt the wheels lock, and then soon they went perfect 90-degree turn, won the race. And then I tell this story to say, if you're going to put yourself out there, if you're gonna run top speed towards your dreams, you cannot punk out last second. If you don't commit to the turn, then everything's gonna crash because you've created such a strong vortex.
Vortex,
That
that's
these,
right.
yeah, that these things were flying towards you, and now they don't have a direction, so they just fly any and
Go
every
with the
wind.
flow, honey.
So get crazy. So if you have the opportunity, if you're in a position where you're moving, you're walking your path, and you have the option to turn back, lean into it even harder. Okay. and then you'll be surprised to come out.
Thank you guys for dropping in with Colored Roses and Thorns. This conversation with my firstborn son has turned into something very interesting. Every time we do sit and get together, it turns into an interesting, very interesting discussion. But thank you guys for stopping by. Colored Roses and Thorns.